Hello, passengers, co-pilots, shotgun callers, blunderbuss bellowers, and midnight riders. Welcome to another episode of Full Moon Empty Road. As always, I'm Jeremy, and I'll be your driver tonight. Hope everybody had a great week, and I hope you're ready for another road trip. We're staying in the South again, and we're headed to Virginia Beach, Virginia. So get in, buckle up, grab the rock salt, and let's ride. We have work to do. We're actually going to be doing things a little differently tonight. We're going to a particular destination, but the episode will be focused on one particular individual. And it looks like we're here. Come on. It's time to meet the Witch of Pungo. The Witch of Pungo was born Grace White Sherwood, born in 1660 and died in 1740. She was the last person convicted of witchcraft in Virginia. Think the Salem Witch Trials, but with banjo music or something. She lived in Pungo, Princess Anne County, which is modern-day Virginia Beach. She married James Sherwood, a planter, in 1680. The couple had 3 sons, John, James, and Richard. Her first case of witchcraft came against her in 1697. She was a farmer, healer, and midwife. She was accused by her neighbors of transforming herself into a cat, damaging crops, and causing the death of livestock. She was charged with witchcraft several times. The court ordered that Sherwood's guilt or innocence be determined by ducking her in water. If she sank, she was innocent. If she did not, she was guilty. Sherwood floated to the surface and may have spent almost 8 years in jail before being released. Because of course she floated. Because, you know, you're not a witch if you float. We have buoyancy as humans, so I mean, of course you're gonna float. That was a lose-lose situation. Her first case was in 1697. She was accused of casting a spell on a bull, resulting in its death, but the matter was dismissed by the agreement of both parties. The following year, she was accused of witchcraft by 2 neighbors. She supposedly bewitched the hogs and cotton crop of one of them. Sherwood sued for slander after each accusation, but her lawsuits were unsuccessful and her husband had to pay court costs. In 1706, she was convicted of witchcraft and was incarcerated. Freed from prison by 1714, she recovered her property from Princess Anne County. She did this because her husband had died in 1701, roughly 13 years prior to that. She did not remarry and lived on her farm until her death in 1740 at the age of about 80. And most of this is going to be a lot of roundabout times and possible whatnot, because a lot of her historical documentation was destroyed over the years. Anyway, on July 10th, 2006, the 300th anniversary of Sherwood's conviction, Governor Tim Kaine granted an informal pardon to officially restore her good name, recognizing that she was wrongfully convicted. A statue depicting her was erected near Centara Independence on Independence Boulevard in Virginia Beach, close to the site of the Colonial Courthouse where she was tried. She is sculpted alongside a raccoon, representing her love of animals, and carrying a basket containing garlic and rosemary in recognition of her knowledge of herbal healing. So, that's a little bit of backstory on her. This is going to continue on with backstory, but we're going to dive a little deeper into the accusations. What do you think? The first accusation against Sherwood came to court in early 1697. Richard Capps alleged that she had used a spell to cause the death of his bull. The court made no decision, and the Sherwoods filed a defamation suit against Capps that was resolved by a settlement. In 1698, Sherwood was accused by her neighbor John Gisborne of enchanting his pigs and cotton crop. No court action followed this accusation, and another suit for defamation by the Sherwoods failed. In the same year, Elizabeth Barnes alleged that Sherwood had assumed the form of a black cat, entered Barnes's home, jumped over her bed, drove and whipped her, and left via the keyhole. Again, the allegation was unresolved, and again, the subsequent defamation action was lost. For each of the failed actions, Sherwood and her husband had to pay court-related costs. According to Richard Bill Davis in his journal article on witchcraft in Virginia, by this time, Prince and County had obviously grown tired of Miss Sherwood as a general nuisance. In 1705, Sherwood was involved in a fight with her neighbor Elizabeth Hill. Sherwood sued Hill and her husband for assault and battery, and on December 7, 1705, was awarded damages of 20 shillings, which comes out to £1 sterling. On January 3, 1706, the Hills accused Grace Sherwood of witchcraft. She failed to answer the charge in court, and on February 7, 1706, the court ordered her to appear on a charge of having bewitched Elizabeth Hill, causing a miscarriage. In March of 1706, the Princess Anne County justices sought to impanel 2 juries, both made up of women. The first was ordered to search Sherwood's home for waxen or baked figures that might indicate she was a witch. The second was ordered to look for... The second was ordered to look for demon-suckling teats by examining her. In both instances, reluctance on the part of the local residents made it difficult to form a jury, and both juries refused to carry out the searches. On March 7, 1706, Sherwood was examined by a jury of 12 ancient and knowing women, appointed to look for her for markings on her body that might be brands of the devil. They discovered 2 marks not like theirs or like any other woman. The forewoman of this jury was the same Elizabeth Barnes who had accused Sherwood of witchcraft. That's perfect placement for someone who already had a problem. Perfect timing to reinforce that too. Neither the colonial authorities in Williamsburg nor the local court in Princess Anne were willing to declare Sherwood a witch. Those in Williamsburg considered the charge overly vague, and on April 16th instructed the local court to examine the case more fully. For each court appearance, Sherwood had to travel 16 miles from her farm in Pungo to where the court was sitting. On May 2, 1706, the county justices noted that while no particular act of maleficium had been alleged against Sherwood, there was great cause of suspicion. Consequently, the sheriff of Princess Anne County took Sherwood into custody, though Sherwood could give bond for her appearance and good behavior. Maximilian Bausch, a warden of Lynn Haven Parish Church, was the prosecutor in Sherwood's case. On July 5, 1706, the justices ordered a trial by ducking to take place with Sherwood's consent, but heavy rains caused a postponement until July 10th, as they feared the wet weather might harm her health. Sherwood was taken inside Lynn Haven Parish Church, placed on a stool, and ordered to ask for forgiveness for her witchery. She replied, "I be not a witch, I be a healer." At about 10 a.m. on July 10th of 1706, Sherwood was taken down a dirt lane now known as Witch Duck Road to a plantation near the mouth of the Lynn Haven River. News had spread, and the event attracted people from all over the colony who began to shout, "Duck the witch." That sounds like the first official autocorrect. According to the principles of trial by water, if Sherwood floated, she would be deemed guilty of witchcraft. If she did not, she would be innocent. It was not intended that Sherwood would drown. The court had ordered that care be taken to preserve her life. Five women of Lynn Haven Parish Church examined Sherwood's naked body on the shoreline for any devices she might have to free herself, and then covered her with a sack. 6 of the justices that had ordered the ducking rowed in one boat 200 yards out in the river, and in another were the sheriff, the magistrate, and Sherwood. Just before she was pushed off the boat, Sherwood is said to have stated under clear skies, "Before this day be through, you will all get a worse ducking than I." Hey, look. That's, man. Bound across the body, her right thumb to her left big toe and her left thumb to her right big toe, she was cast into the river and quickly floated to the surface. The sheriff then tied a 13-pound Bible around her neck. This caused her to sink, but she untied herself and returned to the surface, convincing many spectators that she was indeed a witch. As Sherwood was pulled out of the water, a downpour reportedly started, drenching the onlookers. Several women who subsequently examined her for additional proof found two things like tits on her private parts of a black color. Black color, excuse me. It actually says collar, and then, anywho. She was jailed pending further proceedings. What happened to Sherwood after her ducking is unclear, as many court counts have been lost. She served an unknown time in the jail next to Lynnhaven Parish Church, perhaps as long as 7 years and 9 months. She was ordered to be detained, to be brought to a future trial, but no record of another trial exists, so it's possible the charges were dismissed at some point. On September 1st of 1708, she was ordered to pay Christopher Coke £600 of tobacco for a reason not indicated. I think that's Christopher Cook, excuse me. £600 of tobacco for a reason not indicated in surviving records, but there is no mention of the payment. She appears to have been released at some time in or before 1714, since in that year she paid back taxes on her 145-acre property, which Virginia Lieutenant Governor Alexander Spotswood helped her to recover from Princess Anne County, on the banks of a muddy creek off of what is now Muddy Creek Road. She lived the remainder of her life quietly until her death in 1740. She was roughly around 80 years old at that time. She is believed to have died in August or September of 1740. Her will proved on October 1st, 1740. It noted that she was a widow. She left 5 shillings each to her sons, James and Richard, and everything else to her eldest son, John. According to legend, Sherwood's sons put her body near the fireplace, and a wind came down the chimney. Her body disappeared amid the embers, with the only clue being a cloven hoof print. So, I guess she was taken away by Satan. Sherwood lies in an unmarked grave under some trees in a field near the intersection of Pungo Ferry Road and Princess Anne Road in Virginia Beach. Stories about the devil taking her body, unnatural storms, and loitering black cats quickly arose after her death, and local men killed every feline they could find. This widespread killing of cats may be what have caused the infestation of rats and mice recorded in Princess Anne County in 1743. Her home on Muddy Creek stood for over 200 years. After being burned several times in the 20th century by vandals, all that was left in 2002 were brick chimneys, which were bulldozed in November of 2002. All that remains are a few bricks and part of the foundation, which is overgrown. The property is now owned by the federal government as part of the Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge. According to stories these days, every July, an unexplained light hovers over Witch Duck Pond, and her ghost has also been sighted walking the very place where the trials took place at the Ferry Plantation. Belinda Nash, in addition to writing a biography of Sherwood, worked tirelessly to get her pardoned. Governor Tim Kaine granted an informal pardon to officially restore the good name of Grace Sherwood on July 10, 2006, the 300th anniversary of her conviction. Annual reenactments of this ducking have taken place since 2006. No one's actually ducked in these events, which embark from a spot across from the Ferry Plantation House along Cheswick Lane, which is very close to Witch Duck Bay. So, that is the story of Grace White Sherwood, the Witch of Pungo. She I like reading that she actually, granted it took 300 years, but she got a pardon. You know, I mean, this this gave a lot of Salem Witch Trials feels to it, but I mean, people were crazy back then. People are still crazy, but I don't really. I mean, at least if we think someone's a witch, we're just like, they're a witch. It is what it is. We're not like, well, time to go drown them in a river. Unfortunately, there's some people you can't drown in a river, though. I mean, everybody's got someone they'd probably drown. Anyway, I do appreciate everybody stopping in today and listening to this week's story. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at FMER Podcast. You can follow me on TikTok at Full Moon Empty Road, and you can follow me on Twitter at Full Moon Empty RD. If you would like to leave a suggestion for the next episode, feel free to head over to one of those social media locations and shoot me a message and let me know. I'll be posting this on all of my social medias except for TikTok. Once I can get a video out or like something recorded, I'll have something up. But you're welcome to go to either one of those places, leave a comment on the upload, and say, hey, cover this next. I've only had that happen, I think once so far, maybe twice. Actually twice now. Only 2 different people have actually suggested episodes over, comment sections or something. Anywho, now another thing, I've got the merch section up. You can go to bonfire.com/full-moon-empty-road-classic and pick you up a t-shirt. Someone, come on, be my first sale. It's been going for a few weeks and I still haven't made a sale. That's a little bit depressing. Also, in terms of suggesting next episodes and whatnot, you can also reach out to me on Gmail at fullmoonemptyroad@gmail.com. Let me know. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode today, and I appreciate you all stopping by. Thanks again, and let's go home.